Welcome to another episode of Searching for McGuffin with your hosts, George,
Gabe,
and Lank. Ank.
You okay, Link?
I think he was
sir.
referencing something we were doing before the show started.
What were we doing? We were singing that. I don't even know the name of the song.
It's called Zombie.
It's called Zombie. I don't even know who it's by.
It's called The
Cranberries.
Cranberries.
Oh, okay. You guys want to sing it together?
No.
Can we get sued if we sing it?
Yeah, possibly.
That is true. Oh, can you?
What if we do parody?
We don't know. I don't want to find out.
Oh, okay.
Oh, if we do a parent, what are you gonna? How's the parody gonna work?
Our voices trying to be funny,
That-
singing it funny.
I don't know if that's a good strong defense in court.
You have a good lawyer though, right?
You have a good lawyer.
I
have a good lawyer?
I always have a good lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have him in retainer, baby.
What does that mean?
I pay him money to be there just in case I get sued.
Is that true?
Is that what being on retainer means?
Yeah, that is what being on retainer means, but I'm not sure that he actually has him on retainer.
We're friends.
That,
So,
that-
I have him on retainer for friendship.
Yeah.
We're friends. Our friends.
he pays him with friendship.
Yeah. So if I ever need
I guess
trouble,
that does count.
yeah, he's there.
Speaking of friendship, this has nothing to. Maybe it does have something to do with friendship.
Team friendship.
When we were coming up with the idea of what we were gonna do for this episode,
When you were coming up with the idea.
well, it kind of just. I guess
just
it was
kidding.
just gonna be us, and then
Yeah.
Link miraculously made a comeback.
Yeah. He snuck in. Link literally only has about 3 hours between.
The past 2 weeks.
Yeah, and to slide into our. I don't know how I was gonna finish that.
Yeah, I was
sentence.
wondering where you were going with that.
Yeah.
To slide into
Link-
our hosting table.
Link has been a world traveler these past couple of weeks.
That's true. Actually, we could talk about that. You're on an international tour.
Yes, sir.
Care to break down
Yeah,
where
elaborate.
you've been, what you've been doing?
I've been cruising
Where you
around
will
the
go?
world. I've been cruising around the world.
And I.
I was in the Bahamas a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Past week I was in the seas again, in PR.
DR Dominican Republic for our
Oh yeah, for
The Doctor Land.
what is it, abbreviated disabled viewers and listeners?
Is that a thing?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
And then you
Continue.
then
said PR.
PR, public relations.
Nope, that's not where you were.
No, I was in Puerto Rico.
Oh, you. I feel like you committed to the accent at first, and then
And I just
faded
gave up,
out.
yeah.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah. And I was in St. Thomas.
St. Thomas, really?
St. Thomas.
I haven't been to St. Thomas in a while. How was it?
It was nice. It was pretty cool, enjoyable. Had a good tour guide. Played for some reason he played a lot of Spanish music for me.
Look like you got some sun.
I did get
Pretty
some
good.
sun. I got that.
That's right.
Got a nice tan going on.
Nice tan. I got a nice tan on my feet as well for my chacos.
You got a nice Tony Storm reddish glow about you.
I guess, yes. Then I'll just keep on traveling the next few weeks as well. So
Well, that's right. Where are you headed next?
going to Nicaragua.
Man doesn't stop.
Seriously,
I'm gonna
living the life.
go help out at an orphanage over there.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, gonna help them out. Gonna maybe adopt some kids. I don't know.
Beautiful.
Maybe.
Actually, if you get any information about adoptions, can you just bring it back? to
Yeah,
me?
yeah. Let's see.
For a friend.
Try to adopt some. Maybe tease that I'm gonna adopt some of them for their, just for their approval to see what happens.
Maybe they'll help you build
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, I want them. I want them fighting for my love. So let's see. I think it's gonna be a reality show. Who wants to be my next son?
Sounds like a great idea.
That actually sounds like a real reality show.
Yeah,
though.
it
Like,
does.
That, I wouldn't put it past like ABC.
Watch
Yeah.
next week. They're gonna announce something.
Yeah.
Alrighty. But going back to what I was saying, because
Who's your puppy?
I lost my track.
With Link, the first contestant. Link is your puppy. You win.
I am not your puppy.
I am not
You're
your
out.
puppy. You're out. Yeah, that would be a good title for this episode if it had anything to do with what we're gonna talk about.
What are we talking about today? Oh
No.
yes. Yeah, randomly hit me and driving on the way to the car. I was like, man, I know we talk about the stories that we love a lot. The films, the books, the games, and stuff like that. But what kind of randomly dawned on me was like, maybe we talk about the characters.
Mm.
Mm.
Some of the big characters that have kind of shaped the way we see, we look at life and look at the way we look, like how people tell stories.
Like the big characters, like the swole, jacked characters, or
Like just the Expendables. The Expendables is what we're talking about.
oh, okay, the Expendables extended universe.
Just every jacked person from the 80s is in that movie.
Nice.
No, but like just favorite characters from either movies, TV, books, games, just any type of character, fictional character.
All that stuff that we talk about on this show
Basically, yeah.
endlessly for hours and hours.
And I was like, man, I first was like, what's your top character? And then I was like, that's kind of hard. Let's maybe break it down to top 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of wanted to delve into why these characters are so special to us.
Yeah.
And like how they've, kind of shaped or, molded our outlook on life,
Yeah. Would you say that's a fair statement, Link? That the characters that we've grown up watching, listening to have shaped your outlook?
That is correct.
Okay. I kind of have this concept that there's this old video game, No More Heroes. I don't know if you guys ever heard. Just the title, at least.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was like I think it was for the Wii. And then they had No More Heroes 2. They recently did No More Heroes 3 after like a bunch of years.
Mm-hmm.
But I just love that title, No More Heroes. Because I remember growing up, I didn't have a ton of role models in real life. And as maybe sad as it sounds, I think that a lot of like what it is to be came from these characters that I grew up with. Like the morals, the attributes, the actions. It's like this I reject, this I accept, this I relate to, this doesn't resonate with me. And I kind of grew up with that mentality that some of the heroes that I did have growing up in real life, or that were other people's heroes, they kind of like fell to the wayside, would end up disgraced or disappointing. And it's like, it's kind of hard to put your faith in real people, although you should find real people that you put your faith in, especially as you get older. But with that being said, these characters, they can't let you down until like somebody writes them to let you down. But for the most part, especially when you're younger, like they didn't.
They're infallible when you're a kid.
Yeah, because they're not real, you can kind of just reject the stuff that like, oh, this character did that. Whoever wrote that sucks. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
That didn't really happen.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess that does fly into, I guess, part of what, at least one of my characters. So, I mean, we can jump right into it.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Link, what's your number 1?
Well, you put him on the spot, right?
Yeah, man. Why'd you put me on spot?
Maybe it's because
did you not think of it already? Did you not think of it?
When you walked in earlier today and you were like, hey, we're going. He's like, yeah, right. And then he just like dozed right back off. And then in that moment, Gabriel knew that he was going to call Link first.
Okay.
That's right. I remembered my number 1 character. My number 1 character, Paul Rudd.
That's a real person, Link.
I'm glad we broke. I'm glad we broke it already.
I mean, can't choose a Paul Rudd character.
No,
from
you
the
have
movie,
to. You have
so
to.
I chose Paul Rudd himself.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Is there a particular
that
Paul
introduction
Rudd
that I had
performance?
about the No More Heroes? Just ignore those like 2
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah.
That doesn't apply to Paul Rudd for me.
Okay.
He has not failed me.
Okay.
He won't.
Why? Why Paul Rudd?
Oh man, if there's someone whose movies produce so much joy in my heart, it's Paul Rudd. Not only do I enjoy him in movies, I also enjoy him off movies. You get me? He's usually always fun to
Hang out with?
Yeah, he seems like he seems like him and I would be best friends. You get me? Like I love you, man. I love you, Paul Rudd.
I see what you did there.
You're my role model.
My wife always says that about people. She's like, I think we would be best friends. And I was like, I don't know.
You're my anchor man. Sometimes I'm so clueless when thinking about you, Paul Rudd.
So, okay.
So yeah,
So you're all in on Paul Rudd.
I'm all in on Paul Rudd.
I do love Paul Rudd. Honestly,
Yeah.
Paul Rudd is great.
Would he be one of the characters that shaped me? No, but that's why we're all different, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He shaped me. I try to model my looks off of Paul Rudd.
There's one thing that I find very like admirable about Paul Rudd, and I think about this often, which is going to sound really weird, but I think it's his daring, his ability to go places where maybe others wouldn't. And it's because I think of this movie that he made with Amy Poehler from Parks and Rec. They came together.
That movie's great.
I love that movie, and it's like you've seen this. You've seen it? Oh, okay. It's a
It's
very
like-
slept on film.
Yeah, it might be. I really enjoyed that movie. Yeah.
Okay.
you
It might
gonna
be
say
what?
it's
What
his
were you
best
thinking
That
about?
was it's going to be one of the best rom-coms I've seen.
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah.
it's making fun of the genre.
Yeah. So there's this one moment, I guess it's a spoiler, but there's this one moment where he goes to get like advice from his grandmother. The movie's super random, okay? Like there's no rules. If you ever seen like Wet Hot American Summer, which he's also in,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know that it might just like deviate into how did we get here, and then just kind of realign. So he has his grandmother character that he kind of goes for advice, and he has a good relationship, and he's like struggling with like, oh, should I not with this girl or whatever, and then all of a sudden things get heated, and then him and his grandma just start making out.
What?
And then he goes, no, we can't, and then the scene ends, and then they move on, and they never come back to it. And I was like, man, that's a joke that like
I have to watch this now.
some people wouldn't put in a movie, but bold.
I just love he's always seems like he's a great person to be around. Whenever you see him outside of a movie, like, man, this guy's literally you have a blast with him, and you know I try to be like that. I try to be as smooth, as laid back, and as easygoing as Paul Rudd.
Okay, all right, I can see that. Do you find yourself in situations where you're like, what would Paul Rudd do?
Sometimes when I hang out with my grandma.
Again, that was not Paul Rudd.
Abuelita.
That was the character that he plays.
I was limping.
Do you even have a living grandmother?
Me? Yeah. She lives in Colombia.
Okay.
She's la reina del sur. Being in the south over there, you get me?
Okay.
Controlling people.
Okay. If that's true about
Pawns.
if it's true about you and your grandmother, I'm glad that you've gone to every Hispanic country but Colombia apparently on this tour. So
It's coming soon. In September.
I'm not gonna touch that one. It's coming in September. Gabe. Oh, I'm sorry, you're hosting. Go right ahead. I mean,
no,
we're all
please,
hosting.
you can host.
We're all hosting, but you're leading.
I don't know about
You're
leading.
the host the most.
The host most with the mostest?
Yes.
Hey, what happened to
Um,
that guy?
Hosted with the mostest.
I wonder where he went.
Yeah.
Anyways, my number one is Luke Skywalker.
Ah.
And I think
Were those lightsaber sounds? What was
I don't know. I honestly thought that was good. I was like,
no, Luke Skywalker. I think I mean everyone pretty much knows that about me. I love Luke Skywalker. I mean I love Star Wars and
Everybody except for that one X, but whatever. I mean, I guess she knew.
no,
you
she
liked
knew.
Luke
Yeah,
Skywalker.
she knew.
Just didn't know who Luke Skywalker liked, but okay.
But since I was a young.
now I remember that Luke Skywalker made out with his sister.
I guess it's true.
So he was bold.
He
She was
was
right.
bold.
He's bold.
Maybe
Just like Paul Rudd.
Maybe Paul Rudd influenced Luke Skywalker.
Paul Rudd for Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Nah, Luke Skywalker has just always been, a character since I was a kid that I, look up to and admired.
Mm-hmm.
Him starting off with like A New Hope, and you see like his journey throughout the trilogy, and even in the newer films. I know a lot of people hate on him, but I mean, I guess I'll start with like in the original trilogy is like you get this farm boy who takes off on a galactic adventure, and through each film you see like a different part of him, a different side to him, which I don't know, like I just seeing like someone go through different, and that's the thing like I like about like trilogies and like some franchises, like you see characters and how they change over time, and for me that was one of the characters that I was able to see grow as a character from a very young age. Everything that he went through, everything that he had to overcome, because the movies don't do like this, like they don't really care to like hide his flaws.
Yeah.
I think like because he's a kid, he's really young and he doesn't know what he's getting into, and it's like that's kind of like relatable when you're going through that, when you're going through you're coming of age and you're going through your own stuff. I think you really go through this journey where you find who you're meant to be, and you it's a process along the way, and it doesn't mean like you get to a certain age and like it's final, like that's it for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
And
for
I think,
sure.
and I think the sequels prove that. You know, a lot of people give a lot of grief because they thought, you know, Luke Skywalker was supposed to be this god, this, I mean, because that was like how a lot of people had pictured it, I guess,
Mhm.
since we didn't have Luke. We had stories, like expanded stories, but Luke for me was like this character that, you know, he was always hopeful, but I think the biggest thing was just, you know, he was compassionate. You know,
Yeah.
my favorite iteration of Luke Skywalker is Return of the Jedi Luke. To me, he's just a badass character, and more than just like him being, you know, great with a lightsaber, doing flips, using the Force and stuff like that. I think the biggest thing about Luke was that, you know, when it came down to it, like that whole journey for like him having to face Vader was like him trying to save his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I guess a lot of people miss that. I don't know. Thinking that it's just, you know, them versus each other and like duel to the death and stuff like that. But when it comes to the point where, you know, he has this power and he overcomes this great evil, he's able to still see like his father in him. He's able to still see the good in this monster basically that's terrorized the galaxy
Mm-hmm.
for years on end. But he's able to he's able to feel and sense the good that's still in his father, you know?
Yeah.
And he, at the end of the day, like he throws away his lightsaber and he chooses not to fight. And I think his compassion, I think that's like some of the things that like for me impacted me as a kid, where it was like, wow, like it's not always about, you know, the hero, like, you know, winning with violence or winning, like just being stronger, you know? I think it's a different type of strong. I think that the way he won is what like speaks to him as a character for me.
Uh-huh.
In that I had never really seen anything like that. You know, usually like the hero ends up, you know, overcoming the evil by just being better, or I don't know, by some type of skill like that. But, you know, Luke like willingly wasn't playing into the game that the Emperor's game, where he wanted him to lose himself to anger. He was able to stop himself in the heat of the moment and, you know, step aside and be there for his father, you know? And
Do you think that if you and your dad ever get in a fight because of Luke, you're never gonna want to kill your dad?
what? Oh, because Luke inspired me?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why you don't want
yeah,
to murder
probably.
your
I
father?
thought me and my dad were arguing about Luke Skywalker.
Oh,
That's why.
you
I'm
get
gonna
into a
kill-
fight
You know,
because
whatever
of Luke.
arguments you have with your dad, you're not
About Luke Skywalker?
whatever it is. You know, you're
No,
not,
yeah, I
you're
think
not gonna kill him. Because
I think for sure. I think because there's times where like obviously like different.
You would have killed him otherwise if it
if
wasn't for Star Wars.
exactly if it wasn't for my dad showing me, then I would have been like, bro, done.
Oh man, he really, that was a smart play by him.
yeah,
Yeah.
because your dad could have been like Anakin.
It's
Killed
true.
you when you were young.
If any of our viewers or listeners are out there and you just had a child or you're planning on having children, make sure they watch Star Wars so they don't kill you.
Mm.
Exactly. So that was like my idealized version of Luke, and you know, like that's just, and there's some iterations like either in books or games where he is this larger than life character that he is, and like they really like built him up to tell a tale.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just some instances in where
Season 2 Mandalorian finale.
True.
Yeah.
Like in Battlefront 2 in the campaign
Mhm.
too, you play as him, which I thought was amazing. And then there's like a pilot for the Empire that gets stuck on a deserted island,
Yeah.
and he gets basically like trapped, and he basically has to work with Luke to like get out of where they're at, and like Luke saves the enemy's life, and the guy's just so taken aback by, you know, he's heard stories about this guy being just like, he's the opposite. He's the enemy. He's killing all of like either my friends, the people that
He's a
the side that I work for.
revolutionary, basically, right? That's
Exactly.
what Luke has to be to the Empire, the established order and a disruptor
He's a
to
terrorist.
social order. Yeah.
He's a terrorist, and he's a basically a magical being. He can move things with his mind. He has this laser sword, and so there's a point in the game where the character from the Empire, he basically asks, he's like, "Why did you save me? Why did you help me?" And then Luke simply just goes, "Because you asked." And it's like that. I feel like that just that one like interaction that he has, that they both have, just brought it back for me. Like, because I've watched this movie so many times, and then I play the game, and it's like I feel like there's certain times where like they really capture that essence of who Luke is, and even then, like how I was saying, it's not only about like you think that they're just this one thing and that's who they are for the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I think growing up, I've learned that It's not, this idealized version of this character. I think there are more flaws to people. They're not just gonna reach perfection and that's how they're gonna be the rest of their life, And I guess a lot of people didn't like that when the sequels came around. And I mean, I have my own gripes with the sequels, but I think part of me growing up was also like accepting how like Luke ended up turning out in the movies.
Yeah.
And learning that like Luke was such an idealist that it kind of became his downfall in a sense with Ben,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it goes to show that it's like, not everyone's like a god. They're not perfect.
Right.
Like you can still make mistakes. You can still be flawed, but at the end of the day, you can still choose to fight. There was a time where he was dissuaded. Like he was responsible for the deaths of so many, or he felt responsible for the deaths of so many because of the person that he brought up and the action that he did. And I mean, he carried that. He secluded himself. He closed himself off.
Talking about Kylo?
I'm talking about, Kylo was the one that he did, but Luke, I'm talking about Luke secluded himself. He cut himself off because he felt responsible
for what Kylo did.
He basically like started like he kind of bred a new Vader in a sense.
Yeah.
And obviously he feels responsible, and obviously like a lot of people have the gripe that like Luke would never give up. Luke wouldn't like hide away or do that stuff. I'm just like, when you feel responsible for the deaths of millions and millions of people and like planets and all this stuff, like that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot on your shoulders, and he took that. And I mean, at the same time, it's like, it's still, you can still see the essence of like Luke from like the original trilogy,
Yeah.
And his like the things he struggles with, his impatience, his sometimes like lack of maturity, in some senses.
Also, we don't know Luke in his 30s and 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so you're like, how could he be? How could he do those things? People change, you know what I mean? And they go through experiences and paradigms shift, especially when you go through those life-altering chapters. So to say that, the one from the original trilogy wouldn't have done this, yeah, maybe. But the one from the original trilogy wasn't living.
Yeah, but then they're not the same person. They went through different experiences, and I think that to me also was just like, as I came into adulthood, it's kind of like Luke is still, I'm still on that journey with Luke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's like you have your youth, and I'm still young, but it's like you grow up and you realize that not everything's black and white.
Yeah, and I think that ties into what I was saying about like No More Heroes, where we expect the people that we look up. Sometimes it's our parents, sometimes it's our leaders or educators, whatever it is, whoever you find inspiration. We put them on this pedestal, and we don't give them the opportunity to make mistakes, the opportunity to shape and to grow and to change, and that's why we end up disenfranchised. That was very profound. That was
pretty.
Yeah. Go ahead, Luke.
No, I really enjoyed that analysis of Luke.
Yeah.
And as you were mentioning it, like, man, you can see the juxtaposition between him and Vader in that story where you shared of him wanting to save someone. Like, whereas Vader would have destroyed that person, Luke offers him, second opportunity and doesn't kill him. I don't know. I just thought, man,
no, yeah,
it's like being better than your fathers. That's
yeah,
how I
and then
saw
the
it.
generations
like,
that are coming forward.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of have to pay for the sins of your father, but it's also not, using that as an excuse to be the same.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like at the same point where when Anakin has a choice between whether to save Palpatine or ends up, offing Mace, you know, that's kind of like the same. It's parallels. It's like even to the extremity of being cut off, Anakin cuts off Mace's hand, Luke cuts off Vader's hand, and then they have a choice what they're gonna do at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like Anakin makes that choice, and he makes the choice that he makes, and he becomes who he becomes. He becomes Darth Vader from that point on. And then Palpatine is like, oh my God, I'm literally have another Vader, a younger Vader, like a stronger Vader, a full healthy Vader. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, do it, like, because he's already seen this.
Yeah.
It's just happening again, and it's another.
But to break that cycle,
it's gonna be another era, and Luke breaks the cycle.
Yeah.
Luke is that hope.
And Luke is a character that goes off the beaten path. He chooses the way of a Jedi when there are no Jedi. He chooses to put down his sword when everyone, both Obi-Wan and the Emperor, are telling him to strike down. And he chooses forbidden love with his cousin. I mean, his sister.
His
I'm
sister?
sorry, his sister. No, his cousin would be one thing, but no. But honestly, yeah, that's what he does. He chooses the third way, a way that is not being presented to him, and he finds his own path and he forges that path.
Yeah, and I think in different iterations, it's not just the films. I mean, going back to that game, he's like, there's always a choice to be better, and that's what he tells his enemy in a sense, and eventually that enemy ends up seeing he sees the situation for what it actually is, and he joins the rebellion after that. But it's like Luke doesn't have to beat someone into submission to change to win hearts and minds,
Yeah.
If it's just like a conversation, like he helps people because he's compassionate and he needs it. And I think for me, being considerate and being compassionate are the qualities of a hero, and that to me is like what I strive to be. It's not just being the biggest, being the baddest. It's knowing how to like talk to people, approach people, but doing the right thing when it's necessary.
Yeah. And that's this week's episode on Luke Skywalker. Thank you for joining us. Oh, my number one. My number one, I don't know if it's on your list. It's very popular. It's Bruce Wayne, Batman. Okay, and my reasons are not as profound as yours. He wears a costume, dressed as a bat. He has a cool car. He jumps off buildings, and he's rich. Batman, my favorite hero.
He's so freaking cool.
No, but honestly, I think his moral compass is what has always drawn me to this character. His rigid adherence to his system of beliefs, which can sometimes be problematic, as in real life it can be problematic, but the level of conviction that he has, especially the no-kill rule, the fact that he understands that our system of justice is broken and that it takes individual members of society to put it back into place. He works outside the law, which is a gray area and something that's constantly explored and challenged in the mythos of the Batman world and universe, but also the fact that there is a line that cannot be crossed. Because he operates in this gray area, there has to be a parameter to control him, a line that he cannot push beyond. And that's why I think this character sometimes fails when he's not interpreted in that way. Because I think it's such a defining character.
I wonder who interprets him the wrong way.
Well, I mean, a lot of people do. I mean, to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, I mean, Batman's been killing people in movies for like his entire film career.
I think just going back to how you were stating, like why you like, Batman, like just the beginning, like the superficial reasons.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's a cool character.
Yeah.
And I think in other portrayals, I think that's what people run with. He's just like this badass character.
Yeah.
He looks cool. He has the nice car.
I mean, because that stuff is cool. Like, don't get me wrong. That is reasons why, like, as a 6 or 7, who knows how young I was when I first saw Batman, why you fall in love with him.
Yeah, that's what draws you in. Like, for me with Luke, it was like he had a cool lightsaber. He was cool flipping around. He was I don't know. He was just like a knight, basically, running around. With
Batman Jedi when he's all black too, because
exactly.
Kids are suckers for all black,
Exactly.
So are we adults.
With Batman, it's like you really get to see like it's not just Batman. Like I think as you grow older, you see like in different stories of different iterations, you get to see Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Yes,
and he just becomes a deeper character than just this guy that just punches and fights bad guys. You know? And I think his sense of, like you said, his moral compass is such like a prominent character trait for him, as well as like just his sense of duty and the fact that he feels compelled to do this, and he has to take justice in his own hands because, like you said, the system is broken.
Yeah, I think he's one of the most versatile characters in popular culture as well. He can be goofy, he can be madcap, but he can be serious. He can be grounded and realistic. He could be hyper fantastical in space, fighting lanterns or whatever villain it is that's attacking the Justice League. He can be side by side with Superman and Wonder Woman, or he can just be fighting dudes in suits that have serious mental illness that needs to be addressed. And the way that you can just kind of fit him into any story, and he can be whatever
he needs to be.
Yeah, whatever he needs to be.
And I think it's also a testament where it's like, I think another fact why he's my favorite superhero, but what's super about him isn't his powers.
Yes.
Because he has none.
Mm-hmm.
He uses his mind. He uses like his resources and the things to like outsmart people because he knows like you're not going to beat Superman in a fist fight.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know like everyone's like, oh, everyone always has a situation, Batman versus this, Batman versus that. And it's like, give Batman prep time. And, you know, that's just like a big discourse. I love that I love that a character can have that, you know, can like stand toe to toe with supernatural beings that have this power, these abilities. And it's like,
and as unrealistic as Batman is, he's got like a PhD in forensic sciences, and he's an Olympic level athlete. He's a genius. He's, you know, he has unlimited resources. As unrealistic as that perfect man is, the fact that he is the ideal of a perfect human, not an alien, not superpowers that come from some kind of supernatural origin, I think it's something that is very inspiring to you when you're young, because you're like, I can do that. I can be like Batman. And maybe I won't be Batman, but maybe I can be athletic like Batman, or I can be smart like Batman, or I can be successful like Batman. And I went out of my way to specifically say Bruce Wayne, because I think those are the best stories, the one that treat those two aspects of his personality as individual journeys that run parallel, because sometimes Bruce gets lost in the Batman of it all.
Yeah.
And I think that he has a responsibility within his society. And I think it's important that he not lose his humanity. And some depictions tend to forget that, or at least ignore it.
What do you say to those people that think that, let's say that Bruce Wayne or Batman, he himself is I guess he's a paradox in that he wants to stop all this crime in Gotham, but he perpetuates it more with his style of vigilante instead of just using his resources to actually create peace, the peace that he wants.
Because I think my answer to that is that the right story addresses both those things. Walks through Bruce Wayne trying to create, through philanthropy, through the systems that his parents left behind and that he's instituted to create a better Gotham during the day, but knowing that the crime, because what happens is, this is like an extreme situation. Gotham is not just any city. It's like the worst crime city, in the country, in the DC universe. So that's the level that Bruce has had to stoop to in order to address the murders that are happening like night in and night out. So I think that the right way to depict the character is for Bruce to be setting up a world that doesn't need a Batman. And that Batman is the Band-Aid on the open wound of crime that only the Wayne Foundation can create, because Batman knows that his life is limited and that it will be short.
Yeah, he's not eternal. He's not immortal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about, Nolan's films, especially in The Dark Knight. At the end of The Dark Knight, he becomes that symbol. He becomes like the object of, hate. The fact that he takes guilt for something he didn't do. And he basically lives like the glory and basically places the sacrifice on Harvey Dent, Yeah. And he takes the fall for that. And like you see it when we get to Dark Knight Rises, like they had 8 years of peace because it's like Batman, like he made that sacrifice. He made that choice where it was set up in a way that, with the Harvey Dent act. And like, that's the hard part about it, because it's based on a lie.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the part that like it's kind of like it gets gray in a sense, because think of all the good that came out of it,
but then long term,
then what happened afterwards.
Yeah. And I think the films address that. And with the first one, for example, we love the bumbling idiot Bruce Wayne that's like a cover for Batman that can't possibly be this guy, but Alfred, he addresses that in Batman Begins, where he's like, you have a name, you have a legacy, and you have good that you can do with that name and legacy, instead of throwing it away on just the Batman Crusade. The Batman Crusade isn't enough to save Gotham. There needs to be real effective change in the health, government, and social programs of Gotham if that city is going to strive beyond
the legal ways, to do it in the right ways. And then the times that like, the evil is so great, like sometimes you have to stand up to that evil in a way that, isn't that the legal system can't.
Like in a rebellion, like Luke.
And I think that's why I love the Batman new movie that came out. That's why I love that movie so much, because I think it really explores like how Bruce is just kind of like throws himself into Batman
Mm-hmm.
and just neglects, Bruce Wayne. And it's even pointed out in the film where the mayor, I think the newly elected mayor, like points out, he's like, I can't tell that you're doing anything. I feel like you can do more.
Yeah.
And I hope to see that. I think Matt Reeves has a good direction for
I mean,
that.
I think because it's set and addressed that way, I think it's set up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
expand.
because it's like he's this person that's so like in his shell.
Yeah.
As Bruce, and doesn't go out. He's like he just doesn't come out. He's a hermit. And I think also like the lines, like the dialogue, the dialogue that he has in the movie, how he says like you can't, once you cross that line, like I think who does he tell, Gordon or Selena?
What's the line again?
He's like, once you cross that line, it's not like you can't go back.
Oh
but
yeah,
it's
he
just
tells
like-
Selena, but he also has a similar sentiment to Gordon as well, because it's a recurring theme throughout the film. But yeah, he tells Selena about crossing that line. Yeah.
Yeah, and just that, like, just I don't know. That movie for me is like just quintessential Batman.
Mhm.
Like it's
Mhm.
beautiful.
And congratulations to the Batman 1 year ago, just a little over a year ago by the time we're recording this.
Yeah.
Link,
In there.
who's your number 2?
My number 2 is I don't really. My number 2. I feel like you guys gave such good answers, and my number 2 is kind of like
It's gonna be a Paul Rudd movie character.
no. That's why I said Paul Rudd, because
He
eternal.
encompasses. all.
Honestly, I'll give Link that one, because I think like Link, he kind of is like a fictional character.
He's fictionalized who this Paul Rudd is. but
exactly.
okay,
I
but
never
you're-
want to meet Paul Rudd.
That's fair. But your number 2.
I got Kramer from Seinfeld.
Okay, an interesting choice.
Yeah.
why?
The best part of Seinfeld, in my opinion. So I picked a character a show that I loved, and I thought, all right, let me see which character from that show do I love the most. So I picked Kramer.
Newman.
No, not Newman.
Newman.
No, I picked Waluigi, not Wario. So yeah, I just love Kramer so much. I think he is ridiculous. He's a man without rules. You get me? He's like Batman in a sense. So, well,
That's
episode,
not a place I thought that this was gonna go. But
I
yeah.
mean, George does call him Batman in that episode where he's fighting off, where he's driving the bus and fighting off the people. Because he has no rules. He does whatever he wants. Like, have you ever seen Kramer follow the rules?
By the way, just as a side note, I really appreciate all those little like Superman and Batman references in Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because like in the world we live in today, you don't realize just how rare they were back then.
Then,
Like
yeah.
those are bold, not mainstream, things they talk about, like Aquaman and Atlantis, and it's like, oh, Bizarro. They talk about the
Mhm.
Bizarros.
Bizarro episode? Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
the
what they
Bizarro
do.
That's such a
episode.
good one.
And those are really like, those were not mainstream concepts.
That show's timeless though, man.
It
Seinfeld
really is.
yeah.
And that's why I pick him, because my favorite characters are the ones where he's being ridiculous, like that movie phone episode, or where he has the Merv Griffin show episode.
I wanted to do something like that. That he inspired me. I think that must be where I got it from, where I was like, I want to have a talk show. And it's so easy. Kramer did it.
Yeah. All you got to do is find.
I mean,
I love Kramer.
wait, are we on this show because of Kramer?
I think
Probably.
so, yeah.
You just have to set up a studio in a room. And
Yeah.
Kramer is. I could see why that's on your.
So yeah, he's one of my favorite characters. I think he's great. I love the fact that he does whatever he wants.
He
right?
does whatever he wants. He's a man without rules.
He's a man with, yeah,
Like,
exactly.
he cannot be controlled.
Actually, that's interesting, because I think there's going to be a theme in our lists, because we're like 90s and like post 2000s kids, and that like man without rule is someone to admire, which I think generations past probably didn't as much as we do, but working outside of the systems
Yeah.
is something that we really look, and it's a form of escapism too, because it's like you wouldn't want to be Kramer, right?
Oh, not at all.
No shot.
I would be annoyed with
There's.
Kramer
I
as
think there's
as a
certain.
friend.
I think
Yeah,
there's certain
that's true.
aspects. I think. Having him as a friend would be so
He'd be
interesting.
like, get out of my house, bro.
But I think there are some admirable qualities. I think he really just does not care what anyone thinks about him, and in a way he's free.
And he befriends everyone too.
Yeah, he's very open-minded.
Open-minded, makes friends with everyone. Uh,
And he's always up to something.
I was up to something. Yeah.
Self-educated.
It's
also.
never a dull moment, and like I think his self-belief is off the charts.
Yeah, positivity too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but he's not unaware. You know, it's not like he's because there's a sense of cynicism too. You know, and there's a sense of innocence, but also worldliness.
Mm.
Yeah, sometimes it comes off as being oblivious, but yeah.
Yeah, but also there's some very I don't want to say darker aspects to Kramer, but like very adult.
I think Kramer's a character that's been through a lot, but doesn't let that get to him or like make him a terrible person.
Yeah,
Mm.
kind of like a Phoebe.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Kramer, excellent choice.
Also, I've seen Gabriel dress like Kramer, and he makes it look really cool. Makes it
Awesome.
look really good.
I remember that.
Except he doesn't look. He's dressed like Kramer, but when Kramer wears it, it's like this is ridiculous. When Gabriel wears it, I'm like, man,
He
looks
pulls it
so
off.
It's
cool.
the
He
hair.
pulls
It's
it
the
off.
hair.
It must be the hair.
It's the
huh?
hair.
Okay, all right.
The mannerisms, maybe as well.
He's just super eccentric.
What
Is
about
that-
you, Gabriel?
Is that
Who's your-
me? My number 2 is Aragorn.
Bum, 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 bum,
Was that on your
bum.
list, Link, or no?
I knew it was gonna be brought up, so I made sure not to.
Okay,
bring
that's fair.
Aragorn
Okay,
on my list.
so Aragorn, Lord of the Rings.
I mean, as much as Star Wars is,
Mm.
there for me, Lord of the Rings is just
Mm.
it's right there as well. I mean, we talked
Mm.
about it in the fantasy episode.
I wonder if people get tired of us talking about Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, but so far it's.
I feel like we haven't talked about it in, like
I don't
that
think
much. I
we
feel like
talked
it's like
enough about Lord of the
sprinkled.
Rings.
I feel like it's sprinkled in between.
Okay,
We got a whole month of Star Wars. Right?
yeah, but the point that I was getting at was it's been over a year and a half now, and I do not get tired of talking about it. Clearly, it has shaped and defined.
Because I think about it, it's like there's so many different aspects that you can talk about,
Mhm.
and I feel like we don't necessarily harp on the same thing. I know we have the central theme of hope,
Right.
but I think it goes so much more beyond that, and that extends to so many different like perspectives. I think about those types of stories, especially as we get new stories coming out. It helps you like broaden the landscape.
We're getting new Aragorn stories?
Yes, sir.
Supposedly, I don't know.
Really? That's true?
Yeah.
What? This is the first I've heard of it.
I don't know if it I know that there was rumors about like Amazon, since Amazon has all this stuff for Lord of the
Mhm.
Rings, the rights.
I heard they were making new movies. Is that true?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I think they're gonna go down the route of TV shows.
All right.
But Aragorn has just always been that character, just like Luke Skywalker. That it's like he's that guy.
Mm.
He's just like that model. Like I want to be like him.
He's him?
He is him. And what is that?
I think that's a PC.
Yeah, I think that's the fan from the...
Okay.
They can't hear it, so they're like, why did he just start
What
talking?
happened?
Yeah.
Especially if you can't even see us. It's crazy.
If you couldn't hear that, the computer. the
It's
fan-
about to blow up.
Yeah, it's about to blow up. So if
These lights are really hot,
Yeah.
so the fan is working overtime. Go ahead. Aragorn.
Just Aragorn in the sense like when we first meet him in Fellowship, he's this shadowy, elusive figure that it's like he's like you don't really know where he's at. He's like he could be a bad guy, and then like once he comes into his own, I think he's like the protector. He even in Rivendell when he presents like his sword to Frodo and like basically he's like I will protect you with my life, and just this earnestness around like that he has throughout the films, driven by the mission first, like to protect Frodo, then to recover Pippin and Merry. Even letting Frodo go, I think is also like a test that he passes.
Mm-hmm.
One that we see Boromir fail right before,
Yes.
kind of like the parallels of man, and so like it's a test that he passes because he knows that like this is such a great power, but he doesn't trust himself with it because he knows that it could corrupt him because he has this thing that, like you said, like it's sins of the father type of thing where he doesn't want to be
he wants to redeem
his
himself.
ancestor. He doesn't want to be Isildur who failed and who brought this whole kind of like misery upon the land
Scared of it.
by not destroying the ring, and he's scared of like he's the thing. His self-awareness, I think, is one of his defining qualities of who he is, where he comes from, what's in his like DNA,
Yeah.
and just that he doesn't want to like corrupt power. He wants the life where like he doesn't want to. I feel like he's humble. Like he doesn't necessarily want to be king, even though, well, that's another thing. I think in the books and the movies are a bit different. As I think I was asking you this
Yeah.
before when I was reading the books,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like he seems like he knows that he wants to be king. Like he knows that that's his duty, and he was gonna come into that. In the movies, he seems more reluctant.
More apprehensive to
Yeah,
accept the crown.
he's just like, I don't really want that. I think it works in the films.
Yeah. The reluctant hero is always
Yeah, like
someone that inspires.
like Jon Snow in Game of Thrones, and I mean that went the way it did. But I think
And
like,
again, Luke in the sequels, like
Yeah.
he's reluctant.
he's reluctant. He doesn't want like because they know like what that great power. what
The
comes with
knight
that
in
great power.
reluctant armor. It's a
And-
prototype.
Yeah, and so that for me, like he's just aside from him, obviously like the basics, the superficial stuff where he's a badass, he's good with the sword, he rides in, like he saves the day, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, I
think
know what you're saying.
I think beyond that, he's a good man, and I think that the films encapsulate that. And I still have to finish Return of the King for the book, but in the books, I still get that same sense of like who he is as a man, and he's honorable, and he really is like that, the knight, the hero that you look up to, and I mean Viggo Mortensen does such a great job
Yeah,
portraying him, and I think just by the time we get to Return of the King and he accepts the mantle of king and he does like that journey that we've gone through with him, I think once he like accepts the mantle of the king, I remember I bought that toy. I have like 3 different Aragorn toys,
Really?
like through all different movies, and yeah, those toys, and then like Gandalf and Luke.
Did you ever get to play the EA game
Yeah.
for GameCube? Yeah,
Yeah.
where you're like,
For sure.
that was awesome. You get to play as all
Those
of them,
games were
the
so
entire
good.
Fellowship, and it's pretty awesome.
But yeah, Aragorn for me is just like one of those, pivotal figures along with Luke that really just kind of shows me like to as a man, like to obviously like have heroic qualities, but also to learn how to like be there for your friends and have this sense of duty where you want to complete the mission, but you also know that sometimes like obviously being hesitant of who like where you come from and like the things from your past, but also not letting it stop you from becoming who you're meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's just I don't know. I just love that character.
Awesome. Aragorn. Any other thoughts, Ling, on Aragorn?
Aragorn is great, man. Gabriel mentioned something that I didn't realize, but he is very self-aware, and for someone who is, in the line of war all the time, right? You see it in Boromir. You can see like your ego get in the way and not make you self-aware, and as a result, you make wild decisions, right? But Aragorn's not like that. He is self-aware, and that's something I respect about him. Man, I wish more men were self-aware,
Yeah.
right? About themselves and their some of their toxicities and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, Aragorn is the poster boy for like no toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why you have to bring up my personal issues here on the air though, Link. I don't appreciate that,
I'm
but
sorry.
that's okay.
I thought you would be aware of them.
I am now. So thank you for that. My number 2 choice, I don't know if this is a weird one, Carlie Brown.
Okay, you're gonna have to explain.
I mean,
that
we
one.
went from Kramer, so I'm
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Let me tell you, when I was a kid, I thought I was the only one suffering from depression and anxiety. But then this cute little cartoon boy with no hair taught me that
Is he bald?
he has like little, he's
Alopecia?
drawn with
He's
like
like
little
Caillou.
strands.
Is he like
Yeah.
Caillou? Does he have
Caillou.
alopecia?
He's the OG Caillou, right? He has alopecia, I think, which is also something to like kind of admire, right? Because he doesn't look the way you expect a little cartoon boy. That's a funny thing, that Peanuts always had this reputation of being like so cute and adorable and like innocent and they're wholesome cartoons, but they're also super existential and like self-deprecating
Yeah.
and literally using words like anxiety and depression. Like Carlie Brown is constantly struggling with being depressed. And this is what, the 60s, the 70s? You know what I mean? These cartoons predate when I was born, but I grew up with a Carlie Brown Christmas.
It's themes that you wouldn't really associate with that time period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are, I don't know those things being addressed anywhere else when I was growing up.
Yeah.
You understand? And for me, Charlie Brown was an escape. When I didn't have cable, I only had the public access shows, and those specials would come around. Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown Christmas, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And just to know that, like, okay, there's other like 8 and 12-year-olds that just hate their life, that it's okay. There's always a bright spot at the end, and hope, and sometimes it's just like belief in man and in the greater good, faith, in a higher order, whatever it is that the moral of that story is. But the journey is one like just rife with trauma and disappointment, and it's a tough time, man, growing up as a kid. And I think that Charlie Brown was one of the first honest voices that I heard that, like, hey, we know it sucks being a kid, but you're going to get through it. And it's all going to be all right. And I appreciate that,
Yeah.
Charlie Brown's always put in these situations where he's like asked to do something. I have a personal story that I remember. I was no good at football, right? And I wasn't the last kid picked to be like, when you would be in recess, you divide in two and everybody picks. I wasn't the last kid because I wasn't even the last kid, because they were like, you know what? You should be the referee. And I remember like, okay, I'm going to be the referee. I'm going to be the best referee. And I bought like a whistle and a referee shirt, and I would show up to recess, and then everybody's like, you don't know how to referee this game. And I'm like, bro, I cannot win. Like, what is happening? Why does everybody hate me?
Sounds like a Charlie Brown.
But that is literally what a Charlie Brown episode is like. And it's like, he's the director of the play, and because they don't want him in the play, and everybody hates the way that he directs. And it's like, come on, man. He's Charlie Brown. He's also a kid. He's just trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
But no one has any patience for Charlie Brown. And
all that rhymed.
oh, well, there you go. So for me, Peanuts was very special to me growing up, and I still stand for Charlie Brown, and he is one of my heroic characters that I look up to, and I draw inspiration from. All right. You got your number 3, Link?
My number 3.
The way that Link has to set up his selections also, by the way.
You already know, man.
My number 3 is a... Okay, go ahead.
My number 3 is from one of my favorite shows. It's Nick Miller from New Girl. I love Nick Miller. I feel like out of all the ones I've mentioned, he's the one I most like.
That's so... Your list is so funny.
It's so Link.
Yeah.
We're supposed to pick people that...
Yeah, supposed to rape real people?
Yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah.
Who does that? No, yeah, I just love Nick Miller. One of my favorites. His, watching New Girl brings me comfort, and just his storylines. I mean, along with all the other guys on that show, I think they're all great as well. Just relate more to Nick Miller. But if I could, I'd pick all the guys from New Girl.
Oh, and none of the girls? That's crazy. Wow.
Winston,
Megan Fox is crazy.
Winston, Coach.
Oh, you took one
DC.
from my list, Megan Fox.
I wouldn't pick Jess. She's my least favorite character on that show. I don't know.
I feel like there's a personal bias there, but we won't unpack it here.
Find her annoying. Maybe there is a personal bias there. I don't know. But no, yeah, Nick Miller. I relate to him the most. Don't
That's
even
so
know how to
funny.
explain it.
Yeah, that's so funny. This show is so iconic for so many people, especially for like really young generation. Like my students binge watch this, and like not just the ones that were like on the tail end of when the show was ending, but now it's been over for a couple of years, and it's like a huge show on Netflix, right? It's still
It's
on Netflix.
yeah. And I'm scared that when we lose Netflix, whichever family member stops paying for Netflix, I'm also going to lose New Girl.
Yeah. Oh, well, maybe they should do something about that. But anyways, I didn't connect to New Girl as much as apparently generations and generations of people. I like it. It's a good show. I think it had its ups and its downs. But like, what makes Nick Miller land in your top 5?
I think every guy on that show, what I love about that show is that it's so silly. All the guys there are silly. They make no sense. You get me? All those friendships make no sense. Like the interactions make no sense, and that's what I love about it. Like, this is so ridiculous. This is what I want. Like, I want roommates so that we can be like this.
I feel like you have the right group of friends that you could have made this happen.
I could have made this happen.
Yeah.
But none of us are. But all of my friends live with their. Most of my friends live with their moms. So it's like we can't. We'll never be
partners.
We're partners, but we'll never be able to actually live together.
Okay. Yeah. I think that moment has passed.
Yeah. I think Gabriel and I can probably do it, and Danny.
Not here though.
Not in Miami yet. No.
Yeah. Where would you have to go to create this perfect apartment?
Are we allowed to say it, Gabriel?
Hmm?
Gabriel's confused.
Can we say it?
I don't even know. Say it.
Probably Orlando.
Oh,
I
yeah, that
guess-
is controversial.
I guess that could happen too.
I mean, I guess the show can just move to Orlando,
That's true.
and then I'll call in sometimes.
You'll produce a show, right?
You'll
Yeah,
produce
yeah,
the
I'll
show, and
produce
then
the
we'll be
show.
like, we don't like how you produce the show.
Yeah. Oh man. Hopefully by then, the producer teaches me
I love
how to
New
produce
Girl.
a show. You love New Girl?
I love New Girl.
Okay.
I think if I ever do move to Orlando, I'll probably be roommates with Danny.
Could be.
Could be.
All right. Cool.
It's a strong list. Unexpected.
Yeah. Definitely.
Exactly.
No crossover.
Wild card. That's what I
Yeah,
am.
you are the wild card.
What about you, Gabriel? Who's your number 3?
I had a 3, and this is my 3, but I kind of want to, I don't know if I want. My 3 is going to be Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Oh,
Was he in your list?
I thought about him. He
my-
didn't make my top.
I 3 is
5,
Peter
but-
Parker, but I'm also torn because there's also another character that it's like I also really, really do like. But I guess we'll go with Peter.
No, you can't.
No, you can put it. We'll do like a like honorable mentions and then just do it really quick. We won't
Okay.
break them down as deeply as we do now, but
Um.
because I like my list too, and there was not a lot of
Yeah.
spillover. Go ahead.
Peter Parker or Spider-Man. I think more Peter Parker. I honestly think.
Oh yeah. Peter Parker's my favorite part
I
of
think
Spider-Man.
I think Peter Parker's my
Yeah.
favorite part of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like I mean I love the character, like
But
the
he's
dual-
Charlie
the
Brown.
duality of him.
He's
He's a grown-up Charlie
Yeah,
Brown
he's-
with hair.
Like he's high school Charlie Brown, and then he's adult Charlie Brown.
Yeah, it's just, if there ever was like just like the personification of like good things happening, bad things happening to good people,
Yeah.
it's him.
Yeah.
Just wanted to have a win. That's
It's
all I
just
want.
like, a life riddled with loss, but still a life riddled with loss and pain, but still able to, get up and do the right thing.
Yeah.
Because like that's who he is as a person. And those are the values that like were instilled in him from these people that he has lost. And he, I guess it is his moral compass, that makes, and I think it's just resilience.
Yeah.
His resilience to like, even in the face of just ridiculous loss, he still manages to get up and fight and,
Stand up
for the little
for
guy.
his rights.
Exactly. But yeah, it's like, I don't know what it is. I mean, I do know what it is. It's people that, they go through so much and they still manage to pick themselves up and still be there for somebody else. Still be there to help other people, to be of service and to protect others because they have this gift.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we give that iconic line about with great power comes great responsibility, and I think, I mean, just when we saw No Way Home
Yeah.
and seeing like the different versions of him come together, that was, that's like a beautiful moment.
Yeah,
Aside
yeah.
from like, it being crazy that it's like 3 different movies from like just different time periods of our lives.
Yeah.
I think that as a character, I feel like they all hit the beats of Spider-Man and Peter
Mhm.
Parker at the same time because he's the same, but he can be looked at through different lenses, and,
Right.
like, through different stories that iterations that he's been, captured in. And I just love him as a character.
What are their ages in that one? It's like he's still high school because he's a senior. He's about to graduate, right? And then I guess like Andrew Garfield would be like postgraduate,
late 20s.
right? Like he's already done with
I think
college
he's in
and
his 30s. I think he's 30s.
right.
Yeah.
And then Toby's like
Toby's in his
already,
40s.
already like professional and
Yeah.
and that's what's beautiful about that too, because that movie's a love letter to the character because he's so versatile and he's growing and I think who you mentioned Luke's stages of development.
You see
and
them all here.
yeah, and they're all on display here, and Into the Spider-Verse, for example, is another example of.
Nick Miller Spider-Man.
That's right, Nick
That's
Miller.
what I was gonna dive into that one, but
Yeah.
I forgot.
Of how versatile the character is in a similar way of like my selection, Batman, the versatility of the character that he can be anything for anyone, but that essence of what Spider-Man is maintains throughout generations. Why I think he's been such a popular character.
No, for sure, and specifically with the film iterations, I think is also impactful because it really is something that's happened through decades. Like it's a character that we've seen through decades. Like, I mean, for me, I was really young. I think Spider-Man 1 was like one of the first movies I ever saw in theaters. And like, following Tobey's journey.
That was Batman for me, which I think is a defining.
Yeah.
That's why it makes those lists.
Exactly. Following Tobey Spider-Man, and then we get Andrew Spider-Man. Yeah, like even though the movies weren't great, I still enjoyed watching his Spider-Man. And I think there's different parts to life.
I actually also didn't think they were bad when I watched them at the time. Now looking back, I can be like, oh, I can see why people don't like it.
It was like a cool Spider-Man movie, and I think like I love Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And like him in the suit, like once he has that suit, like I feel like he embodies Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Like his witty responses, like the nature.
Even more so than Tobey. I think it's like a step up.
Yeah.
Tobey's corny. Andrew's actually like corny in the right way.
Yeah, Peter's like that nerdy kid, and I think the duality is like when he puts that suit on, when he puts the mask on,
has no fear.
He's He's a completely different person.
Well, and I think also because the Sam Raimi Spider-Man is like what a nerdy kid was in the 70s.
Yeah.
When Spider-Man was formed, and I think when when Mark Webb directs the Garfield version, it's like, okay, this is how you contextualize it in this time period.
But I don't think there was a big enough separation between Peter and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
With Garfield's iteration, I feel like
he
was kind of like the same person
Mm-hmm.
still.
Yeah.
I feel like if you were to like see Peter Parker and then see Spider, obviously you wouldn't know, but kind of like the similarities.
A little too bold for Peter,
Yeah.
a little too grounded for Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm like I said, I love his Spider-Man. I think Tom encapsulates both pretty well.
He balances them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but then seeing them all together, I think.
Plus, he has an accent, which is very important.
That's true.
As a boy from Queens myself.
Queens. Yeah, I think, and the way that No Way Home ends, and I think that's a pivotal thing because in the MCU we don't necessarily see Peter, lose a lot. He loses Tony,
Uh-huh.
and he's snapped. But other than that, like every movie turns out pretty happy for him.
Yeah.
So this one, like we finally see.
Oh, you're Peter Parker now.
I was like, oh, you are Peter
Yeah.
Parker.
It's just like this trilogy is the origin.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
not. It was in the first one.
But that is like I feel like it happened naturally. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a kid with a chip on his shoulder. He's part of the Avengers. Like, but he's still him.
Uh-huh.
He's still him. Like who he's always been.
Yeah.
But now it's like he has to navigate nobody knowing him. He has to navigate losing. Like he finally was able to like get to that point where he got the girl as his friend and is going to go to college and things like that. And he loses all of that.
Yeah.
Basically. And he has to kind of start this new chapter in his life. And that's what I think, I love about Peter is like he never really gives up.
Yeah.
That was a good choice, man.
All right. My third choice is tough because I really thought, I don't know. I thought maybe somebody would say Batman. I don't know what I was thinking because I got like my 3 and my 4 are like, I have
Batman was my third.
Batman was your third? My third is, and it's a tough choice because my 4 is really important to me too, but my third is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin defied all authority. You talking about Kramer?
Can I get a hell yeah?
You're talking about Kramer doing whatever he wants. Stone Cold Steve Austin
Literally did whatever he wanted.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes, like Link thinks about Paul Rudd. Sometimes I ask myself, what would Stone Cold do in this situation? Because
such a good way to live life.
No fear.
Bracelet.
Yeah, that actually I should probably get that bracelet that says "No Fear" with the skull, like in the in the place of the A, I think it is, right? Because I think about that all the time about how I'm gonna do the right thing or I'm gonna do the thing that I think like needs to be done, forget the consequences, and which can sometimes be a bad habit.
Yeah.
But because it's the thing that needs to be done, and like I don't care, fire me, for example, or like alienate whatever, because this is what needs to happen, especially in like systems of like injustice, because he was fighting the evil Mr. McMahon, corporate greed, manipulation, politics. And it's like, I'm no Stone Cold Steve Austin, very clearly. I live a very mundane, blue collar life. But in those moments, in those hints, like where it's like, no, this is my line, I cannot stand, I think, forget it. I'm going all in, and I think there's some truth to some other lessons I learned. DTA, don't trust anyone. I remember the first time he said he lives by that code DTA, never trust nobody. And I was like, that's not right. But then the t-shirt got it right. Don't trust anyone, right? never trust nobody. But
Stone Cold's just the grown-up version of Bobby Hill.
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, of course, these ideas are very elemental. They're very elementary. It's obviously more nuanced than that. Obviously, you have to trust people, but also be wary. Like keep your eyes open, and you never know like who's out to get you. Like you got to look out for number one, and obviously you got to look out for other people and all that. But sometimes you need to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, and if that means giving your boss a stunner, and then for some reason
him off.
drinking about 18 beers without actually drinking any of them because you're spilling them all over your...
Just taking a bath.
Yeah, just taking a beer bath. Yeah. Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was my Wolverine, my real life Wolverine. Does so. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, because it's like he kind of teaches you how to approach things without fear. Like, there are consequences to things, obviously, but I feel like a lot of the times in certain situations, fear takes over and we don't act.
Yeah.
We kind of you stay stagnant, you stay in the same place. And I think Stone Cold is a man of action. Like that's who that character is. Like he just does it, It's like, the chips fall where they may, but I'm still going to do what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. He's Maverick. He's do. Don't think.
Just do.
Do you think we can get Stone Cold to be on the podcast?
Oh, that would be interesting. I don't think he has a podcast anymore, right?
He doesn't?
I think maybe he just plays old episodes.
What?
Because he has like 3 reality shows, and
he doesn't have a podcast anymore.
I don't know.
Making return to wrestling.
That was the only podcast I would listen.
I haven't. Yeah, but you don't, which makes me think that he doesn't have one.
I don't, because he kept on repeating the same story.
Yeah,
I kind of know the story.
But I think he got that too, and he was like, "Okay, I think I'm done." I think he did that WWE thing too, where he does those video interviews, and I think that he just stopped doing the.
I think we can still get Stone Cold on the podcast. I think
that would be awesome. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think maybe we have to go to WrestleMania or something. Maybe buy those tickets to meet him and then beg him.
That is one of my that's on my bucket list. Like take a picture with Stone Cold.
There's like a 50-50 chance he comes on the show or just gives us a Stone Cold stunner and then pours beer on us.
And hopefully someone records it.
And even then it'd be better than him coming to the
it'd be even better, right?
Boy, no, yeah, that was a good one. Yeah. One of my favorite, and I didn't get to watch this when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen YouTube clips of it, but it was like WCW versus WWE, right? The invasion angle, and WCW comes. They're attacking all the WWE talent, and they're winning, right? Like they're winning, and it looks like WCW's gonna win. But then out of nowhere, Stone Cold
that glass shatters.
That glass, not even, because you hear him coming. Like he comes in from all the way to the back. Like he enters the arena and he starts whooping ass. Like you get me?
He's like Moxley. Or Moxley's like him.
That's what I've always said. Moxley is a modern time Stone Cold. You get me?
Yeah.
And he just starts fighting everyone, beating everyone up, and he makes his way all the way up to the ring. And when he's in the ring, you have people there like Angle, you have Triple H, you have Undertaker, right? And they are not the important ones. It's Stone Cold, and he comes and he destroys everyone.
Mm-hmm. He can take out like 16 to 32 guys all
by himself, man. He's like Luca Brasi right there. You get me? just making everyone, just killing everyone, and it was beautiful. Like I wish I was I watched that live. I don't think I would have understood it as much as I did.
No, but and I think so because I was like,
but it's wrestling. Like you
what
get
is
me? It's
it?
very primitive.
It's like 96. How old am I? I'm like,
I'm 3.
Let me see. let me see. I don't know. Let me do them. I'm like 12. I'm 12. You know, let's say 96 to 2000. I'm like 12 to 16. You know, you don't really understand it, but you understand.
This is badass.
Yeah, you understand also the primal like desire, like because I saw Stone Cold get beat up just as much as he beat people up. You know, left laying episodes where he's just like ganged up on by 16 dudes. But the fact that you can keep fighting and that the time will come where you overcome the odds. Oh man, it's just so powerful and it's just so inspirational. And you know, like if anyone listens to the show, how much I love professional wrestling, and this period was like it was the hottest thing in the world, and everybody was into it. And for those few years, it was like finally that thing that
you loved.
Yeah, that I loved. Like I could share it with everyone, and Stone Cold was front and center. He was the protagonist, the Michael Jordan of professional wrestling, Stone Cold Steve Austin. So also, I grew up with him as Stunning Steve Austin in WCW. He was young, had blonde hair. He was a great technician, not a brawler like he ended up being after 2 blown out knees and a broken neck. But so like to see this guy that I thought was like so cool, but like nobody knew him, become the biggest star in the world. That was just that was a journey for me. Stunning Steve, the superstar, to Stone Cold Steve Austin. That was a journey, man.
The journey you took with him.
Yeah. So, and that's that. Seeing those stages in development.
Yeah.
All right, really quick, just to wrap up, who else rounded out you guys'
Do you have
list?
any honorable mention?
We mentioned 3. A few that I have on my list, real quick. Give me 1 second.
Every time.
I got Levi Ackerman. You know?
Really?
I mean, I'm a short guy. He's a short king.
Short. He's the king.
He's you know what
he's the face of Short King.
Exactly. What he does, he demonstrates what short people can do.
Oh, really quick. By the time this episode comes out like tomorrow. So in just a few short days, the new season of Fortnite will come out. So I heard a rumor that he's the secret skin, that he will be in the Battle Pass. So
Did you watch the new episode?
No, I just got.
I'm sorry, there's a new episode?
It came out yesterday, the new season.
The final season?
Yeah.
Part 3?
17, yeah.
Okay.
The final season.
I'm gonna wait for the whole thing. I don't care. I'm not gonna do this.
What else? So yeah, no. I have Levi Ackerman.
Mm-hmm.
I have Cusco.
Cusco.
From the Emperor's New Groove, because he's my favorite Disney princess.
Okay.
Or
we won't unpack that.
Princess.
Okay.
And then I have a Daredevil.
Daredevil. I thought Link was gonna take Daredevil.
Matt Murdock, man. He would have.
I thought you were gonna take Daredevil, so that's why I didn't say Daredevil.
So okay, 2 reasons why.
Was he the next one?
Yeah, no, he wasn't the next one. He's not even on my list because I just assumed somebody would cover Daredevil. And the only other reason I want to talk about Daredevil was because I love the character, and also his kind of take on it is like the faith-based aspect of it. But for the most part, you're kind of walking through the same steps as Batman. Yeah.
But
he's a lawyer.
But with religion as an important part of his character.
Yeah, exactly. So that aspect is kind of like the shift of it, and the disability aspect. So there's definitely like the traits that make him awesome in a different way, but a lot of that conversation is very similar to it. No, the one that hurt me was Son Gohan. I love this character. I saw this character grow up from a little boy that looked like me to a man that looked like a much more jacked version of me, you know? So from that bad haircut that I also had when I was a kid to knowing that he had unlimited potential, to a grown man who chooses to kind of set aside some of that potential to, you know, start a family, become an educator, wear some glasses, even though I'm sure has perfect vision. That's
like Clark Kent.
Yeah, that's to me, Son Gohan is the protagonist of Dragon Ball Z in a way that Goku is not for me. Love Goku to death, but he's kind of that absentee dad.
Goku's not a good father.
Yeah. So for me, Gohan chooses to break those cycles like Luke, that like his dad was trying the best he could.
Yeah, like Anakin's like this BA, amazing, like gifted, talented, warrior that's OP.
Yeah.
And then, Son Gohan's like the one that like, tries to make the most out of his life and, doesn't have to follow his father's footsteps.
Yeah. He makes a way for himself, and I can respect that.
Nah, he is the happily ever after story of Dragon Ball,
Yes. He's the Goku that doesn't have to constantly die and come back and then leave his family to go save the universe.
I mean, because he has because it's not. I mean, yeah, Goku's his dad, but it's like Piccolo's his real dad. Like,
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then the round out was Indiana Jones.
Indy, yeah.
A brave
That's
adventurer who spends most of his time
Awesome.
inside of a classroom or a library. So
a scholar.
yeah, I think even a better version of Han, for example. Han is a great character, but like you can't really relate to Han because he doesn't.
He's just too cool.
Yeah, he's too. Yeah, like you look up to him, but
Yeah.
you can't be Han.
Han. Yeah.
But there's parts of Indiana Jones where you could be like, yeah, there he is, that scholarly curmudgeon.
Hmm.
So that was mine. What about you?
Well, the other one I had was
The leader of the pack.
was Ted Lasso.
That's a good one. Wow, but that's new to make that.
Yeah, and that's what I was like. Peter's like been that character
Mm-hmm.
for so long, but
Peter Griffin.
exactly, model citizen. No, Ted Lasso. I mean, the show came out like what?
2019,
No,
20?
15.
15.
No, not 15. That's way
17.
too.
And it's coming back soon, right?
Yeah, it comes like next week.
Yeah, in a few days.
And
is
I
this
mean,
the final season, by the way?
I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Is it?
I think so. No.
I think so too.
I don't
That's
know.
what I heard.
Just this character, because the thing is I rewatched the second season,
Mm-hmm.
and I've just been getting people because the new season's coming out, and I don't know that I've realized
The second season is the most recent season. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I realized that like people would ask you, "Oh, what's your comfort show?" Or like and I was like, I realized I didn't really have one. Like there's shows that like that I'll just like binge and watch, and like I guess like Game of Thrones, but that's
Yeah, it's not comfort.
Exactly.
I hope.
exactly. And I've realized that
you have some trauma.
I've realized that
That's your
I'm
comfort
pretty
show.
sure it's Ted Lasso, because like just the fact that this character is basically just made fun of, ridiculed, like a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
Everyone's making fun of him, everyone's cursing, everyone's being mean to him. He's like just a person in a world that he doesn't really feel like he like fits in or belongs.
Yeah.
Like he can still find his way through, and doesn't change like necessarily like what he believes in and who he is, but like is okay with that and accepts people for who they are, and
Mhm.
accepts all the hate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But continues to find a way to move forward, and also spread his positivity, his energy, like who he is to other people,
Yeah.
his kindness, I think, as a man. And that's what I love about this show and the character, is that it takes its time doing that.
Yeah.
And it's like little by little, he wins the hearts and minds of everyone around him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like even people that are so skeptical of him, people that don't necessarily believe it, people that like feel like he has like a hidden agenda or just don't understand him. He finds a way to break through that exterior, not like actually like trying. Sometimes he tries a little harder with certain people.
Yeah.
But it's like just natural. It's just like infectious to some certain people, where it's like you can't help but try to be better when he's like
Yes.
when he's like around, basically. And the
Yeah.
thing is, like, he doesn't know how to coach soccer. Like, and he's up for that challenge and he learns, but it's like
He knows how to coach people.
he knows how to coach people. He
Mhm.
knows how to manage people. He knows how to make them, get the players to a place where like they're, comfortable when they're dealing with their real issues that they have aside from the sport, from the game, And obviously, like, it's fictional, but I think it's very, it speaks a lot to things which we don't see nowadays,
Yeah. Well, because we're taught to fake it till you make it, which is good too, in a sense, because it's like you got to figure it out, and you're not gonna know everything all at first, and you got to kind of make it work.
But you get to a point where you do figure it out,
right,
or
exactly.
or you get to a point where you know a little bit more about yourself,
But
and you can move forward.
But then Ted is like that again, third way thinking. It's like I ain't gonna fake it. I'm gonna very transparently not know and ask for the tools to facilitate the learning right here in real time. I'll tell you what I know. I'll tell you what I don't know, and that's a lot braver, than just avoiding conflict.
No, yeah, and it's like we saw this one dimension of Ted, in the first season. He is this happy guy, he's this kind guy. But once we get to the second season, we start to peel back the layers of who Ted is and what he's gone through. And I mean, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but just
Ted dies.
The things
He's
that
not in season 2.
the things that he expresses he's very like apprehensive about therapy and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I think the show does a very good job, like handles it in a very good way, where it's like it breaks that down and like it gets him to that point. Like the part with like Jamie and his father
Mm-hmm.
and Roy.
Yeah.
It's like that stuff will make a grown man cry. Like it's heartfelt and it's sincere, and it's just, for me, it's one of the best shows on television. If not, like once it comes back, I still gotta watch the new season. But for me, it's like it's my favorite show on TV because we go through all this like, I mean, maybe not Link, but there's so much like, you know, dark shows, like things that like dramatize, you know, the worst parts of human nature.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yes, it's interesting to see, but also like watching too much of that, like you said, like if Game of Thrones is my comfort show, it's like there's nothing wrong. But if it is, it's like for me at least, it's like you're just surrounded by not crap, but like just darkness, you know, just evil.
Yeah.
Obviously, there is good to overcome that evil in a certain sense, but if that's like constantly coming at you, which I've noticed, like I was watching a lot of shows like that, I was watching a lot of things like that, and it, you know, it affects your mood.
Yeah, I got to a breaking point with that stuff, which like I think recently my question has been, is it uplifting now? It's gonna go on the back burner.
And I've taken that too, and I think that's one of the things that's like why Ted Lasso is so special, because I mean, aside from the fact that like, it is about, you know, soccer, and that's something that's near and dear to my heart, and I understand, I love it, I love watching that stuff, but the message that the show has and how it says and how the characters convey that, I think just give you really real lessons in life that you can, you know, take into your own life. And it's stuff that, like, I mean, even the mustache, you know, it's just, Ted is as a character driven by kindness, you know, like he's just trying to be better and help other people along the way.
Yeah.
And just like, you know, that sign where it's like, you know, belief.
Yeah.
And just to have hope. And even they talk about in the communism episode.
Yeah.
He expects it. And that's something like I've been, you know, like really getting into in my life, where it's like not rom-coms, but
communism.
Communism. He basically says that like communism is the belief that like everything is going to work out in the end. Maybe not how you hope, maybe not what you like, but at the end of the day, everything is going to work out exactly how it's supposed to. And like I watched that episode again, and it just threw me for a loop. I think watching the remainder of that season, I'm like, this is excellent. I mean, for the season that I am in my life, I think it's definitely just really hit home. And I think that Ted Lasso is a character that's like, it started off as like a joke. It was a marketing campaign for like a soccer team and for the Premier League for Tottenham. And I remember those commercials back in 2013. And then I know they announced like the TV show, and I'm like, oh, they're actually doing something. This is pretty cool. But I never would have expected this show to be what it has been, what it's become.
One of the best shows on TV.
Exactly.
And it's not even on TV. I don't know what we call streaming shows.
Yeah, that's true.
You do watch them on TV, I guess.
Yeah. So
sometimes you don't.
So I think like, you know, like I said, taking those themes and those lessons that we take either from TV, movies, films, books, I think is a testament to why we love watching, consuming, listening, hearing all these things.
Yeah.
It's something that it's something that makes these stories real.
Yeah.
They might be fiction, they might be larger than life characters, but I think at the end of the day, they teach us things. They teach us, they inspire us to be better. They inspire us to chase after things that we can improve upon, things that we got to look back on in retrospect and really evaluate ourselves to be the best that we can be. And sometimes they're just really badass.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part. Watching TV, watching movies, listening to music, listening to stories in general, and how they capture our attention.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was the thought that I had of like when I was driving, and that came on, that thought came into my head. I was like, let's delve into like the characters, like who, like especially like the individuality. Like our lists are like pretty different, I think.
Yeah, they're
like,
very distinct.
From Carlie Brown to Kramer to Nick Miller, Luke Skywalker.
But then also you can see the commonalities in them. Like for example, Ted Lasso, where's he from? Kansas, right? I don't have anything in common with a person from Kansas, that I, off the top of my head, it's not really. But then like I compare that to Stone Cold Steve Austin, the bionic redneck who drinks too much. That's not me at all in any way. But to see them live so transparently their experience then brings back to me. And then the characters that I do see myself reflected in, like just the fact that Gohan had the same haircut as me, at age 5 and 6. brings me on a journey with this person for the rest of my life. And what inspires us sometimes comes from the strangest places, sometimes from an inside of ourselves, and sometimes from an experience that we know nothing about.
It's beautiful.
I think you wrapped this episode already. Link, unless you have any final thoughts.
Not really.
All right.
So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that with us this week. Thank you for coming along for the ride. Till next time.
And share with us on social media.
There you go.
On Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. Who are some of your favorite characters? Who are the ones that, who are some of these characters that I don't know what to say here.
You don't know what the episode was about?
Inspire you.
No, yeah,
The
inspire you.
characters that, like,
Inspire you, who shape your view of the world. You get me? Who help you want to be better people. Share that with us.
Until next time, you can say it like,
Ciao.
that's not what. Keep on searching.
Oh.